What's up, Remnant Nation and friends? It is another midweek reel with Pastor Ryan, but tonight it is a very special night. We will be discussing holding on to hope. We're having a live mental health conversation tonight, so I need for you all to do me a favor. I need for you to like, tag, and share this broadcast tonight. It is going to be powerful. It's going to be impactful. We are coming up on the holidays, and we know that sometimes during the holidays, it can be pretty heavy. So therefore, tonight, we want to give everyone some tools to make it through the holidays. You got to deal with family. You got to deal with friends. And so speaking of friends, we brought along some special friends tonight that is going to help us get not only through the holidays, but many of you were furloughed and now you are in recovery. Maybe you're going right back to work or what have you, and you need to know, listen, how in the world can I recover from this? So we got some people that's going to help us out tonight. Let me give you the scripture and we're going to go ahead and jump in. All right, scripture for tonight is 3 John, verse 2. It simply says this: Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in good health, even as your soul prosper. My brothers and sisters, those of you who've grown up in the sanctified church or holiness church, everything was a demon, it is a demon, but we have found out that is not true. Some stuff just may be a chemical imbalance somewhere. And so tonight, not only do we want you to be, as my late bishop would say, A+ Christians, but we need for you to be A+ men and women here on the earth. All right. So I want to introduce to you all our very special speakers coming into the virtual sanctuary tonight. I'm going to do like Queen Latifah when she said back in the day, ooh, ladies first. So we're going to bring up Miss Kima Shaw. She will be joining us tonight. Not only is she going to be with us tonight, we have my main man. Today is his anniversary. Oh my God, if his wife is listening, I hope she will please charge it to my head and not my heart. I did not know that today was their anniversary. I promise he'll take you out after this into a nice steak dinner. Let's bring to the stage my man, Mr. Melvin Blackwell. Yes. And then finally, last, certainly not least, I've known this young man just about all his life. Why is that? Because he is my cousin. He is a wonderful father, and he is a wonderful therapist as well. We're going to have them introduce themselves, but let's go ahead and bring to the stage my man. I ain't going to call him his family name. I'm just going to call him his government name, Mr. James Perkins. All right. Yeah. Everybody there? Everybody there? I'll see. We got it. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let's remove it here. Cool. Oh, there we go. All right, so Miss Kima, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Yes.
All right. Hi, I'm Shaw, and I am the proprietor of Legacy Family Services here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I hold a master's degree in clinical social work from the Fayetteville State University, and I am honored to be a part of this conversation this evening. Thank you.
All right. Next up, let's go with Mr. Perkins. Oh, you might be on mute.
I got my own self on mute. Isn't that crazy? I'm double muted. Good to see you guys. I'm glad to be here. Again, my name is James, running private practice here in Raleigh, called Intentional Living Counseling. I have the privilege of holding space for a bunch of different people, but specifically for brothers and boys who look like me and share my experience. And so glad to be here. Looking forward to our conversation tonight.
All right, and last but not least, it's the anniversary man, Mr. Melvin Blackwell.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melvin Blackwell. I have a private practice called a Mindful Connection. Currently seeing clients virtually only for now. Specialize in anxiety, couples, marriage, a gamut of different things, and happy to be here, even on the anniversary. My wife's at church, so it's okay.
Man, thank you so much again for being on. Listen, because I want to, really use up all of this time. Not only do we have questions that people have already submitted to us, you guys, they are anonymous. We don't know who sent them in, but we'll also kind of take some live questions tonight as well. And so tonight is broken up into 4 sections. We're going to get ready to tackle the first one. We're going to talk about personal emotional wellness. And I'm going to read out the first question. I have it here on my iPad. It'll be on the screen for everyone that's viewing tonight. You all will be able to see that as well. And so let's let this one, Ms. Shaw, I'm going to direct this first question to you under personal emotional wellness. What practical first steps can I take to strengthen and maintain my mental stability? What practical first steps this person wants to know can they take to strengthen and maintain their mental stability?
Question. Often I receive that question in my sessions. My first offer to individuals is movement. Move your body. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they are aligned. And if you are not moving your body in terms of physical activity, I'm not encouraging you to go join a gym, because a gym is $1 billion industry, and then you get the membership and you don't attend and you're wasting money. You have 2 feet. Walk, fresh air, outside, sunlight. Move your body. A practical first step. Your natural endorphins are ignited when you are moving. Walk. Don't try to run. We're not trying to do a marathon. Walk. That is the first practical step that I share with my clients when they're trying to get themselves into the mental wellness space. It is an awesome way to lift your mood. It's an awesome way to combat depression. Movement.
Yes, ma'am. And I must confess to you all on here tonight in the virtual sanctuary with us that Ms. Shaw has kicked me in my chest, stepped on my toes plenty of times, saying, Pastor, are you walking? Have you got outside? I'm here to confess before the church tonight, Ms. Shaw. This is the second week that I have gotten outside, as you would affectionately call it, inside of God's gym, to make sure that I'm walking. Mr. Blackwell, what do you have to say about that? Practical first steps to strengthen and maintain mental stability.
Ms. Shaw made an excellent point. To piggyback on that, I think it's important to make sure you have a consistent routine in what it is you're doing, whether it's making sure you get enough sleep. Let's start off with just waking up during the day, waking up at a decent time. As believers, devotional time is important. You want to make sure you're having a breakfast, just being healthy, just like Ms. Shaw stated, walking, moving. You have a job to go to. You want to make sure you're doing that, and make sure you're setting regular sleep patterns, going to bed at a decent time, not going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and getting back up at 5 o'clock and things of that nature. You also want to make sure you're setting some goals for yourself. As long as you're moving, she said moving physically, but as long as you're making some sort of movement, you have a small goal and things of that nature. I also work with kids on a full-time basis as a high school counselor. So making sure they're creating some goals, some SMART goals for themselves and working on achieving those goals, even if it's small baby steps to make sure you're getting to those goals. So I think that's a great first practical step as well.
Yes, sir. So no binging Netflix and then having to get up at 5 o'clock. Duly noted. And Mr. Perkins, do you have anything to add on to that before we go to the next question?
I'll just add one, and it's amazing. I'm looking at the banner underneath, and it literally says, "What practical steps?" And Kima just said, "Start walking." Right? That's the first practical step. You got to regulate your body before you can start planning or strategizing. So I just want to reinforce that. That is the first step for me as well. It's hard to grasp and get clarity if you're not in your body. And so we need this walking to help regulate our bodies. Can you guys hear me clearly as well still? Okay, perfect. What I was going to add is your mind is the most impressionable, your subconscious rather, is the most impressionable the first 20 minutes of any given day. So you have to be very intentional about what you put in your mind and in your spirit those first 20 minutes. Not to say that you can't shift it throughout the course of the day, but you really are setting the course of the day by what you put in your mind and your heart those first 20 minutes. Your subconscious is the most impressionable. So I would just add that one.
Love it, love it, love it. Body movement. Make sure you're moving towards some type of goal. First 20 minutes of the day is the most important time of the day because our minds are so impressionable. That's great stuff. Mr. Perkins, since we left off with you, I'm going to toss the second question to you under our personal emotional wellness. Why does it feel like stress, anxiety, and depression are increasing with everything happening in the world today? Why does it seem like everything is just being compounded all at one time with everything happening today? Talk to us about it.
What's interesting is I think we tend to, we have a tendency just as a part of our humanity, if you will, to interpret these events and assign a meaning to them about our identity. So these events oftentimes for people are fused with their sense of self. They're not like independent. People are often crafting a narrative about what it means for them personally when these things are unfolding on a global scale, right? So government shuts down. What does that remind you of? Man, someone that you've been in a relationship with abandoning you when you're in need. So these events oftentimes trigger similar experiences that we've had. And with the way things are rolling, oftentimes we don't see any reconciliation or any repairs to what's happening on the global scale. So we are left to decide what does it mean that we're going to attach to this experience. So very clearly, very often rather, is the meaning that we are attaching to these experiences is oftentimes compounding the severity of our anxiety, depression, some of the symptoms that we experience every day. Is our interpretation, the meaning that we're attaching to these experiences.
Good stuff. Jump in there for us, please, Dr. Shaw.
Yeah, very simple. Vicarious trauma. When you see children being snatched from their parents by ICE, when you see individuals' benefits not being provided, and it's because we live in the information age. The internet is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The news cycle does not stop. And it's a constant feed of negativity and no positivity. It is a heaviness. And as a Black female, and we are all minorities here, it's quite reminiscent. The ICE situations is reminiscent of slave catchers. That we didn't experience it, but we know that our ancestors and our forefathers did. So that trauma is just opening up all over again. And it is very hard. So we need community. So the stress and the anxiety and depression, they are increasing because we see it so much every single day, and it's personal. It's here. It's right here now, here in Raleigh. So if you see it all day, every day, and you're not able to turn that off, and you don't have the tools yet, because hopefully we'll be able to provide some tools for you later. You have to have the tools to know how to balance that, because you have to be aware. We don't want to be ignorant. I like to say I like to have a cursory knowledge of what's going on. Now, how long is the government shut down? They saying how many? Okay, but I cannot allow that to feed me every day. That spirit of heaviness will come, and it's vicarious trauma. That's why the stress, the anxiety, and the depression is heightening in this day and age, in my opinion.
Wow, vicarious trauma. Ms. Blackwell, I want you to jump in here because Ms. Shaw just mentioned about children being snatched away, and we all know, particularly here in North Carolina, in the city of Charlotte, as well as Raleigh on yesterday, Border Patrol, ICE was here. What was the temperature inside of the high school where you work? What was that feeling? What was that looking like?
Honestly, I'm at a school that's about 45% Hispanic. I had to go into the classroom today, and the fourth period classroom is a PSYOP class, which is predominantly students who are still learning English. There were over 60% of the students not even in there today. I've gotten emails as a school counselor from families. I'm still getting one. I got one prior to getting one here, explaining why they were absent and the fear that they're feeling. And I'll be honest, as an adult, my heart hurts for them. My heart hurts for them. Ms. Shaw touched on something as it relates to no, we weren't in slavery and things of that nature, but we still suffer from something called epigenetic trauma that is passed down to us and how we respond. We're a proud people, so we come from a place of always presenting well when the whole reality of it is we're not well. We're not well. We did what Master said to do, and we did it with a smile, and we wanted to make sure that we were good, but we come from a place of a survival mode of projecting well. And the reality is that's not even it. We even sing about it. We shall overcome someday. It's in my heart. We sing about it, but the reality of it is it needs to be addressed, and we need some tools to help us. This stuff is now down in our DNA. We don't even come from a place of being able to die right. When somebody dies, what do we want to know? What happened? What happened? Because we were never allotted that opportunity. And now we're seeing it in our day, in this day and age, that in a system of information overload, you turn the news on. I'm not going to make this political. We have people in the White House who hopefully we're praying for, and it's hard sometimes. But we live in a society and in a world where we're taking in so much information that we walk away saddened at times. So our kids are struggling. Our families are struggling. They're living in a place of fear. I have students graduating the whole year early so they can try to get a high school diploma to go ahead to another country to be gone. I've been dealing with that since school started, and kids still trying to find out, can I graduate in May? And technically the answer is no, but I'm telling you, I'm advocating, I'm fighting for them. Hey, this is what these people need. Can we get them in senior classes next semester so they have enough credit so they can walk across the stage so their families can go ahead and be safe? And that person is going now with a high school diploma where the country that they're going to.
Wow. That's just mind blowing. And I'm grateful for us having this conversation tonight because, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Blackwell, about us being believers, and predominantly everyone that's on stage tonight that may be even viewing tonight, most of us have come from a classical Pentecostal holiness type background where, we shied away from this, and we did not even have this type of conversation. So I'm grateful for us having this conversation tonight because it needs to be had. And I try to encourage our church at Remnant Faith Center to be aware. I tell them, hey, listen, watch the news to be aware, but do not ingest so much of it to where it begins to weigh down on you and it takes over how you feel, and it takes over your mental health, and now your thinking has shifted or it has changed. Instead of upward, it's now going downward because of all of the information that you have ingested. I love what you said, Ms. Shaw, when you said that the news is 24/7. It does not stop. And so we have to be mindful of what we ingest. This is good stuff. Everybody, make sure you like and tag and sharing and commenting. And we getting ready to move to the next question. Excuse me. Next question is, Mr. Blackwell, for you. What are effective strategies for managing intense or roller coaster emotions?
That's a good question. One, recognizing that you actually have something going on. Recognizing it. A lot of times we have a tendency to say, I'm okay. And I know Brother James can attest to this, especially when we're dealing with men. So when I see men who look like me come to therapy, the first thing I say to them is thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, because in our community, this is not what we see. So I applaud you, and I'm here to walk with you, alongside of you, for what it is that you need. So recognizing what it is that you have going on, and then taking a moment and taking time to figure out, how can I maneuver through this? I have this going on. I got this issue in my relationship. I want this marriage to work. I want this relationship to work. I want this job to work. So being self-reflective of what it is that we have going on within ourselves to make sure that we are successful with the ebbs and flows in our lives. As one moment we're in a valley, one moment we're on top of the mountain. But keep in mind, as believers, we serve a God who's the God of the mountain, but he's also the God of the valley. So when we're in those intense roller coaster moments, God is with us. And let's find somebody to talk to. Let's find a professional, somebody to talk to in a safe space environment that's non-judgmental, that's going to aid us and give us that opportunity to talk about exactly how we feel. We come from a place like, what goes on in here stays in here. So now we have to, just like with church, we got to do a whole lot of unlearning and undoing. Mama did the best they knew how to do. Daddy did what he knew how to do. Pastor did what he was trained and what he knew how to do. But you know what? We're a little bit more educated. I mean, we're wiser, but this world is more wicked. The Bible even speaks of that. But we still have to take time and recognize that, yes, we do have the books. Yes, we understand this, but there are practical steps that we can take. And one, start with somebody in a conversation.
James, I'm gonna come to you last because of your special design program, because called Therapy for Bros, because Melvin hit on something. But Ms. Shaw, I want you to jump in here. What's going on with the roller coaster emotions. And Mr. Blackwell had mentioned, even, and I'm telling on myself, even as pastor, because I thought that we supposed to be Superman and Superwoman as the man and woman of God of the church, or just a lay member, or mama and daddy supposed to be Superman. But we got these roller coaster emotions. What's it? Talk to us.
Well, for one, we want to make sure the highs and lows are not extreme, because then we're on a different platform. That's where this medication and things are going to come into play. But as humans, we do our emotions do vacillate based on what is going on around us, if we allow it to. Again, that's when we set in our boundaries. We talked about monitoring how often or how much information that you are ingesting on a day-to-day basis. We want to make sure that we are managing that. If you know that you self-awareness, if you're recognizing that every time you hear something about what's going on in this world today, or you see, you are witnessing some of the traumatic events that are taking place, and that blood begins to boil, you begin to anger, your hands begin to clench, your face gets tight, you may want to come away from some of that. But an effective strategy that I give my clients and that I utilize myself, deep breathing. Deep breathing is so effective with helping to de-escalate. I'm talking a good breath in, even if you're holding it for a moment and you let it out slowly, inhaling it and exhaling, you can feel those shoulders just relax. And it's almost like you're releasing that tension or that pain or that hurt that you just witnessed or that you are feeling. Now, the feelings may not stop, but you have to continue to utilize the strategy. Deep breathing is one of the most effective strategies that we use. And some people have long regiments of it. They may deep breathe for 15, 20 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, just to get your day started if you choose your devotion. If you wake up, some people want to wake up with a cup of coffee. Some people want to wake up with Jesus. Whatever you do is your business. But no judgment. But when you're waking up, or when you're just recognizing, you could be at work. If I deep breathe at work all the time because of the level of stress that we're constantly under. So deep breathing is one effective strategy that you can use to help manage. It won't fix, but is a management strategy, a tool in your toolbox.
Wonderful. Now, I know my wife, Lady April, now she going to start her morning off with coffee and Jesus. I mean, we can be getting ready to go somewhere, and she knows that we got to be on time. But let me tell y'all something. I have learned, Mr. Blackwell, since this is your anniversary, we got you by a couple of years. I have learned over these 20 years, my wife gonna get that coffee before we walk out this house. Look, she just put herself on the stage, so so she gonna make sure she does that. James, because Mr. Blackwell said something that really almost brought tears to my eyes, can you talk about, from your lens, especially with your program, Therapy for Bros, when Mr. Blackwell said the first thing he says to a man, especially a black man, is thank you, because we have been taught that we don't cry and we don't show emotion, and if we do, we are weak. What's some strategies that you have given some of your clients in time past, or what tools can you give now to some brother that may be watching? I do understand that this month, I thought it was June, but I do understand that this month is Men's Mental Health Month. So what can you give us?
Yeah, this is a great question. I'm glad he said that. Thank you, Melvin. You never realize how much courage it takes, and since you already specifically want me to address brothers, how much courage it actually takes to make a call, to fill out a form, to send a text message to a brother and say, hey, do you have a referral? And so immediately the first thing, and it is, I'm kind of beside myself to hear Melvin say that's the first thing he says as well, is to say thank you. I tell my clients, especially brothers, I consider it a privilege, and I believe this is a sacred space because two things are really important for me. Nobody has to tell you what's going on the inside of their heart and mind. I believe that's an earned privilege, and I let them know that up front. Thank you for trusting me with the privilege of holding space for you. You don't know how much that goes, even in just the first session, to hear someone say, I take this space seriously, because in other spaces for brothers, they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. So I would first say that is just to acknowledge the courage of what it takes for them to step into that moment in that space. I want to circle back around to some of these things that we've already said, because they're still important for my brothers. Most often for guys, because they are performing, they're always on the go, they can be disconnected or disassociated with their body. So they're not really in tune on what's going on internally. We, often talk about how brothers, don't know how to feel, or they don't know how to connect with their emotions. A big part of that is because they're actually not in their body. They're disconnected from it. And so when Kima was talking about this deep breathing, this grounding, this walking, these are all practices that get a brother into his body. They are all practices that get him into his body so that he can actually feel what he's feeling. If you don't do that first, everything is going over, I want to say over his head, but there's not going to be any real transformation if I'm going to use a brain term here. Your prefrontal cortex is the front part of your brain that's in charge of your executive function. It's your decision-making part of your brain. You don't have access to that if you're not grounded. So if you're not walking, if you're not regulated, if you're not doing deep breathing, you don't have the capacity to have that access to your executive functioning capabilities. So when she's saying deep breathing, walking, these are all practices that get you in your body to get your prefrontal cortex, your executive function back online. So I want to start there. The primary issue for brothers is we are most often driven by performance. Every system that we are part of culturally, within our family system, and even in our religious structures, is reinforcing that our worth is tied to our productivity, that our worth and value is tied to our performance. When that happens, there is a conditioning that happens, and I will say it really started very early from our families of origin, where we learn to associate our worth and our value with our usefulness. So if I'm resting, that means I must be unproductive. And when you think about the significance of that for a brother to be thinking in his mind, I can't rest, that I have to always be on the go, that in order for me to get the love, admiration, affirmation, and support of other people, I have to be producing, that's going to create a vicious cycle where he's going to get disconnected from his sense of what I say, belovedness, that our dignity and our value and our worth is inherited. It's not earned. It's been bestowed, but it's not something that we need to earn. It's been given to us by God. So I'm helping brothers get reconnected to their belovedness. I have a good percentage of my clients and brothers that are believers, so I'm able to use this analogy with them when I talk about Jesus' baptism and how you see when he was getting baptized, clouds open up, dove descends, and you hear the Father's voice saying to Jesus, his son, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." Why is he doing that? He's reinforcing something that he wants us to pay attention to, that before Jesus even started his ministry, his public ministry, he was already receiving affirmation from his Father. So before he produced anything, his Father had already affirmed him and said, "You're good. You don't need to perform for value and worth. You're working out of that." So those strategies that we just talked about, breathing, walking, those are primary. The secondary is I'm getting brothers reconnected to their inherent worth, their inherent value. Once I'm getting them connected to that, and that's the whole process in itself, because there is when I say every system that brothers are a part of is reinforcing, hey, you're only as valuable as what you produce. It takes a lot of work to deconstruct that. Lastly, you said therapy and bros. I actually am relaunching the community, and I updated the title to call it Bros and Wholeness. You guys probably the first to hear that. And a part of that reason is because there may be brothers who might not come to therapy, or maybe actually, if I could say it this way, there's not something significantly going wrong, but it doesn't mean that they are still not living from a performance-based identity. And so my goal, as I say with therapy, period, is wholeness. Therapy is just an avenue that I get to lead brothers to wholeness. Therapy is not the end game. I know I said a lot, but I'll stop there.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. All right. By the way, everyone, thank you so much for commenting. Y'all keep coming in, commenting. We're going to try to get up on the screen, everything. We're going until 8:30 tonight. Just want everybody to know. Normally we stop at 8, but we're going at 8:30. Real quickly, Ms. Shaw, do you all, as women, do you all deal with some of the same things, performance-driven, like us men in particular, because black women, you strong, you such a strong woman. So do you all deal with that as well? And then we'll move to the next question.
Absolutely. When the gentleman was speaking, I was like, this is not only germane to the black male. Sadly, black women take on some of these roles and responsibilities that we were forced to. I can go back into the historic rules to get the man out of the house and all of those things so you can get assistance and all of that. That was the tactic of the system to destroy the black family. So we became the breadwinners. We became the strong black woman. And there's no shade to anyone who has achieved. As an achiever, I understand it's important to achieve, but at some point we have to see, why are we striving for so much? And it comes from a place of lack. We haven't been validated. We haven't been affirmed. So you acquire all these things to affirm yourself, which is so unhealthy. And long periods of that, you build up sickness, resentment, mental health issues, physical issues within our bodies, because we're constantly on go and not allowing ourselves the time or space for the rest that our gentleman friend said earlier. You have to schedule that rest that your body needs, your mind needs rest in order for your brain to function optimally. If your brain is not getting the necessary rest it needs, you're not functioning healthily. You may be functioning, you going, you moving, you doing, but you are not functioning healthily. So absolutely, women deal with the overachiever, the hard worker, the strong black woman. I detest that because I'm not strong. Lord, Jesus says he's strong. When I'm weak, he is strong. So that right there, we have to try to unlearn those unhealthy behaviors and thought processes that we have been ingrained or engrafted into.
Oh my goodness. Listen, I think my wife wants to jump in here. I'm gonna let her jump in, and babe, we gonna switch. You take the last question, and then you roll with trauma and healing, and I'll post the questions up tonight, and we'll just go back and forth. Go ahead, baby.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay. Kima, I wanted you to, that when you said strong one, you hit something because I was like, we as women, we are always saying, I'm tired of being the strong one. And if you could just touch on that just a little bit more as to why that can be a little toxic, saying, I'm tired of being the strong one all the time. But, I kind of understand why, we say that, right? I do understand the why, but can you touch on why it can be unhealthy to always say, I'm the strong one, or I'm
It is
tired of being the strong one?
it is very unhealthy to be the strong one all the time, not even just say it, because you have so many moving parts within your lifestyle. You have yourself, and that's first. But Black women, we are helping so many people. We're like little octopus, just our arms are stretched everywhere. We're helping our children because we love those babies. Now we want them to be the best and the brightest. But oftentimes we are neglectful of ourselves, and some sacrifice is inevitable in life, honestly. But when you're doing so much so often, you carry so much weight, and that weight, that burden, that heaviness, that is mental and physical exhaustion. And you wonder why, because there's another negative mind people love to assign to us: angry. Yeah, I'm mad because I had to go to work, come home, cook, go get the groceries. We're not angry. We're just exhausted. And then when you deal with the microaggressions and those different things that you're dealing with in your workplaces, I'm not angry. I'm just tired of you because you're getting on my nerves. You're just another thing for me to do. And I have to just keep it real, but it is not healthy. It is not, it's not by design. So once we understand that we are not designed to carry all of that weight and to be all things to all people at all times, then we can modify, we can adjust, and it's okay. No is a complete sentence. I am not being disrespectful. I just no longer have the bandwidth to carry you, and you. So no, thank you. I won't be attending that this evening. I thank you so much for your offer, but I think that someone else may be better suited for this opportunity, since you presented it to me as an opportunity, right? No, thank you. Graciously say no.
That was so good because I feel like saying no sometimes when you're so used to saying yes, especially in hectic times, busy times, it can come across awkward, right? When you initially say no, like you feel like there's this level of guilt that you feel when you initially say no, I can't do it. But I feel like you said, once you continue to say no, not this time, you're gentle with it, you're kind with it, it becomes easier.
Mm-hmm.
Start
Mm-hmm.
feeling something lift off of you.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Good stuff. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is so good. All right, so because we can stay there all day, we're going to go into the next question. And it is, how can I manage stress effectively during the holidays, especially while dealing with the pressure of being furloughed? And, just as we discussed, we've seen it on the news that some, due to the government shutdown, it's over, but people are slowly coming back in. I don't know if everybody is back at work, but I know that some people are coming back to work, so they're recovering. But even when we were in it, those that may not have been furloughed, maybe they've just got fired or laid off. How do you manage the stress of that during the holidays? You got to get gifts and all of these things. How do you manage the stress? So I will start with Melvin. I'm gonna start with you if you don't mind. I'm gonna take your mic off and help us out.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's two or three tied up in one right there.
Right.
Because if I just wanted to address the holidays, The first thing I think is important is to recognize and know what it is that you want out of the holidays. What is it that you want? And everybody's definition looks different. For some people, they may want joy. For some people, it's a difficult time bringing up memories of loved ones that are no longer here, and they may want to be alone. And we have a tendency to tell people, oh, you don't need to be alone, or you don't. Let people get what they need for what it is that they need. I before going to school for counseling, I had a mindset, and this is a non-judgment space. I felt like if people didn't do what Melvin did, there was something wrong with them. That's why relationships didn't last. That's why I didn't get married till I was about 48 years old. Because when you realize that there's a whole world out there and everybody thinks so differently, and we all know it as therapists that everybody's mind is different and how they process everything is different, and what it is that they need is different. So knowing what you need for the holidays, and once you recognize and know what it is that you need, begin to align that thing up to accomplish and achieve what it is that you need, and that it is that what it is that you want. As it relates to furloughing, and I know Kima's going to do an amazing job. She worked for the government, so this is in my wheelhouse. But a lot of that, even with the holidays, a lot of that ties into frustration. We're frustrated because we can't get the kids this. We're frustrated because we can't get our spouse this, our loved one this. There's just a level of frustration, and it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated. We need to cognitively recognize what it is that we're feeling and how we're feeling it, and sometimes maybe reframe what it is we're feeling. This is a hard time of the year for me. I don't know how I'm gonna manage. Okay, that's a real place, but we can reframe that and say, you know what? This is a challenging time. I've experienced some challenging times in my life, but thanks be to God, I've made it through. Thanks be to family or somebody stepping in and helping out. And another thing is some realistic expectations with family about conversations, about what it is that we can do. Krispy Kreme is downtown Raleigh. If I went to Krispy Kreme tomorrow and I waited in line, and I'm buying all of y'all, everybody that's on here tonight, and the guest panelists, everybody, I'm buying you everything you want. And when it's my turn, because I'm doing like James and Kima said, I'm walking and working on my body and things of that nature, I want a green smoothie at Krispy Kreme. How you think that's going to go over? You know why? It's not going to go over because they don't have the capacity to give me that green smoothie. So we have to recognize capacity and teach that to our children, that this is what we're capable of doing and this is what we're able to do. And when we get by ourselves as men, who we always got to have it together, as women, we always got to be strong. You know what? Be realistic with yourself and say, you know what? I'm okay because this is what we have and this is what we're capable of doing. So this is my capacity for right now. But what I would like to do, I want to be like the Garden of Eden that had all these different streams coming in. Our counterparts are taught to save money for 6 months plus. So if something does happen, we can survive and we'll be okay. And those are things that we need to recognize and learn how to do as well. A student told me today, he filled out a form because he gets free lunch and he wants a waiver to apply to college, but he was showing me his $500 Balenciaga sneakers. I don't judge. And I said, okay. So I give them my badge to flip it over, because when they want to schedule an appointment, I don't want to be like the other counselors and sending them all the way to student services. I want to meet them right where they are. So I flip my badge over. I created a QR code. They scan it with their phone and they can schedule an appointment with me right then and there. So I told them, you're about to enter manhood and adulthood. Let's have some conversations. So when we are in situations, because we want to see them prosper and be in good health, and we want to see them succeed. So we want them to be able to have a year's worth of salary saved up. So if by chance there's something that's going on, they'll have money saved up. There, and I'm gonna put this out there. I don't know who's listening. I gathered about 35 students together last week because Wake Tech came in. Wake Tech has a biowork certification class that's offered to adults, and you learn about bioprocessing and using pipettes and all these different things. You get a job with Fujifilm or another company. They're paying 18, 19 years old with a high school diploma and a certification, $25 an hour. And I have students who say, oh, that's not what I want to do. You're taking this class. I don't care if you want to or not, because I want you to have an opportunity. So we don't have to have these. And if we are having these conversations, we can have them as panelists. Yeah, because I learned at an early age to set myself up for different streams of income and things of that nature. So there's a certification class out there, people. I just want to let you know that. But so that's my take. I know I went a little lengthy, but that was my answer there.
But I think that's great, because not only are you giving guidance in how to manage stress, but you're also throwing in there, but there are resources to relieve some of that stress. And then on top of that, you're placing accountability on them to say that, so next time you have a nest egg, you may not want to put unnecessary stress, right? And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, unnecessary stress on yourself, because sometimes we put it on ourselves. There are some things, right, that's out of our control. And correct me if I'm wrong, there's some things that's out of our control, but there are some things when you know better, you also do better. And anybody else want to jump in on that?
In fact, when you said, holidays, we gotta get gifts, that's a mindset. We have been taught that. We don't have to. We can create experiences for our children and for our families. We don't have to get gifts. That is a choice. And if we understand that our finances are not allowing for purchases, I don't care large or small, we have to say, you know what? We're not doing the gift exchange this year. This year we may paint. We may draw a gift. We may write a letter to some individuals that are in the hospital. Give the gift of love. Give the gift of nurture and care to someone else. So as opposed to us receiving, how about giving, right? Isn't that a thing? So we don't have to get gifts. And I love the fact that he mentioned our counterparts are taught to save for 6 months. And I can go a little, I can take that somewhere else, because they had it to save, right? Because we worked for them to get it. That's not necessarily our case. We have to work and toil. We've had to. So they have had the opportunity to be able to put up large nest eggs and things like that for their children. So now we're still 400 years behind or so. We are doing better, but they're trying to roll those things back as well. So yes, we have to be a little bit more fiscally responsible. This year, let's think of more group economics. Let's invite families together. We don't have to be individualized, because right now it's time for a community. We need each other. We need each other so much right now in this day. We have to work together, because life has called for it. How much more do we have to see before we understand that if my brother is hurting, so am I? That's my soapbox for that. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. It is. And we're all about community right now. So it's like we have to be in prayer about that and strategize. How can we come together and help relieve this stress now and in the future? Anybody else want to touch on that before we?
I just want to say what I heard Miss Shaw say I read through the lines. In other words, we gonna use that famous line that Mama and them told us: "We ain't got no McDonald's money." You got McDonald's at the house. We ain't got no Christmas shopping money. You got Christmas here at this house. Okay? You got the house. Look, y'all, we gonna go ahead and roll on to the next session. Y'all, this is good. Lady April, the rest is on you. I'm gonna step off stage. I'm gonna control stuff from the back. But here is the next section right here: trauma and healing.
Okay, so the next question is, how do you begin healing from childhood trauma when the people who hurt you are still part of your life? And I know that can be a bit heavy, but how can we do that? And maybe we could throw in the holidays for this, just for the holidays, right? But how do you begin healing from childhood trauma when the people who hurt you are still part of your life? And you, whoever can go first, you can raise your hand, and I'll take the mic off, the mute off mute.
Well, you saw I drunk my water right before I stepped on, because I'll say this. I think for different people at different stages, I offer different responses because I believe everyone has a certain level of self-awareness. And one of the biggest parts of healing is a person's level of self-awareness. And so if that is diminished, that's really my first step that I'm working with, at least my clients on, is cultivating that self-awareness so that they can really understand, why do certain comments hit me in certain ways? What is it about this interaction that I feel my stomach kind of churning? What is it about this moment that just I feel me going from 0 to 100, right? One of the statements that I often say to my clients is, intensity reveals history. That wherever there is intensity, there is something in your history connected to it. And rather than speaking in that moment, sending a response, going off, that is most often a moment for you to step back. And so I really advocate for clients having these conversations with parents or people that are still in their life, because sometimes, when people come to get therapy, I think all of us, and we get enlightened, it is like, man, now I see, now I see how they really did abandon me. It's like that can motivate somebody to get really emboldened, and they want to have a conversation and say, I'm not taking this anymore. And when they go and approach the person, the person is usually not receptive because of the energy that they even presented, whatever they have an issue about with the person. So they're not ready to receive because of the energy that you brought to the conversation. Hopefully that makes sense. And so cultivating that self-awareness and getting people to this reality that, man, hey, if a person that you have an issue with does not come in agreement with how you feel they have wounded you or let you down, that has more to say about them than it has to say about you. And the more you're able to radically accept that, your healing is going to go, I don't like to say quicker, but you're going to find that you're able to maintain and sustain your healing because you're not giving your power over to someone's agreements or disagreements about how you've experienced them. And I'll just stop right there for a moment. Let anybody else chime in.
Mic drop. Wow. Okay. Anybody else want to add to it? Anybody else want to add? Kima.
Intensity reveals history. That I want to say, first of all, thank you for that because that is very true. Um, I'll give a scripture. When you are around individuals who you know that there's potential for, you know, how young kids say to pop off, or you know how that little dialect that they use, that soft answer turns away wrath, and that grievous word stirs up strife. You understand that if you know that if you say what's on your mind, it's going to disrupt that holiday event. Sometimes you win saying nothing. Why give over your good energy or the energy that you mustered up to come to this event for this time limit? Because you have to set a time limit for how long you are able to tolerate being in that space if you elect to go in that space. Use your words wisely. When you feel that intensity, it's okay to step away. This is where your boundaries come into play. Boundaries are our friends. We know that Aunt so-and-so can be a mess. She's a mess every year. Or Uncle so-and-so is a mess. Cousin so-and-so is a mess, touchy-feely self. You understand that trauma that is interwoven within the family structure that nobody, you know, that's how they are. That's just because that's how they have been, that's not how they're going to be with me. Boundaries. And lastly, forgiveness does not guarantee access. I can forgive you for the foolish behavior that you have continued to perpetuate throughout my lifetime and yours, but that does not guarantee your access to me. And that is all.
That is wonderful. And when you said boundaries, I was like, that's it. That's it. Just because their family doesn't require you to be around them for a long period of time. You're right. Put a time limit on it. Melvin, did you want to add to that?
They do an amazing job. I do want to say, even starting off with the trauma is to just to validate them. It is okay to be upset. It is okay to be angry and to feel the way you feel. It's all right to be sad. It's all right even to be fearful around that person. Kima talked about boundaries, and boundaries are huge, especially when dealing with kids, with young people. Boundaries are huge. And sometimes when we think of boundaries, at times we just think of the physical boundary that we're going to limit the time that we're around that person. The biggest boundary I have to deal with in a high school setting is digital boundaries. Stop following that person. Stop seeing what they're posting on their story. If you don't see it, you can't be upset about it. So now you see it. Now you want to pop off and you're arguing. You get to school in the morning. Now it's on site. So now on site means you're home for 10 days. Now you really got some boundaries. But we also have the emotional boundaries. It's okay. It's okay to be around people, but we can limit what it is we're going to allow you to say around us. And if you feel you're not going to respect us, because a lot of times when people are older, they feel we come from a time where we respect our elders just because they're older. Those days are gone, y'all. Those days are gone. And one thing I'm always telling parents, and one thing I find myself doing as therapists, I know we all do, we want to model the behavior that we want to see. So even when I was teaching, I started off substitute teaching, then I became a teacher. But my number one thing, I'm going to respect you. You're going to respect me. We're going to respect one another. So even in our families, when there's trauma and when there's things of that nature, I'm going to respect you, and I have that emotional boundary, but you're going to respect me. And if you can't, I'm not going to be around you. And there are so many other things, but just for healing to begin to take place, I think that's a start. And that boundaries piece is so huge. That's our way to protect ourselves. We're not punishing ourselves. We are protecting ourselves. So I think that's important to aid in our healing.
Yes, I totally agree. Protecting yourself and that digital boundary, that was good right there. That was
You
good.
got teenagers, make sure they have digital boundaries.
And I feel like the same for adults too.
You're right. You're right.
You
You're right.
know, it plays an important role, but yes, absolutely for teenagers and adults.
You're
Okay,
right. Because you know what?
this is good, Lord. This is good. Okay, we're going into the next question because I want to make sure we try to get everybody's questions in. How can I protect my emotional health while co-parenting? Wow, with someone who exhibits narcissistic behaviors. Whoa. I'm gonna read that one more time. How can I protect my emotional health while co parenting with someone who exhibits narcissistic behaviors? Who wants to go first? Raise your hand because I don't want to just call you out. Oh, we got James.
There, perfect. So I actually specifically, and I'll speak from the perspective of helping brothers in this regard. I think start off. I think all of us are born with some level of narcissism. When I say narcissism, we can all be self-absorbed. As I say, children are like born narcissists. They are self-absorbed. It is all about me, my, right? And a big part of the challenge, though, in navigating as they get older and how this impacts relationships is, and it goes back to boundaries.
Mhm.
You have to establish firm boundaries.
Mhm. Mhm.
One is establishing firm boundaries. Two is, when you're dealing with a co-parent specifically that has these type of behaviors, there's often going to be times where the person is trying to bait you to engage.
Mhm.
So you take away the person's power when you don't respond to the bait. In that world, we call that narcissistic supply. So they actually need you to go back and forth with them. That's where they get their validation and admiration from. So you take away that power when you disengage.
Mm.
The hardest challenge, though, for most parents is when you feel like you are constantly getting accusations, you almost feel like you got to respond to
Right.
defend yourself.
Mhm.
But when you realize you don't actually have to defend yourself, the only person that you're defending yourself to, or say it this way, you have to ask yourself the question, what am I trying to prove by the response that I'm giving?
Wow. Okay.
Because most often when you start, when you answer that question, the person that you're trying to prove something to is that person. And you no longer have to prove. I mean, obviously, if you're co-parenting, you're probably no longer in a relationship. That person doesn't get the final authority over your narrative, over your well-being. So you no longer have to continue to try to prove something to them. Thirdly is, and this is the biggest part, is community, is that you need other people that are grounded, that know who you are, that know your character, that can help to anchor you in these moments when you feel like, man, you are losing your grounding, because it can get exhausting.
Yeah.
When you feel like you're the person that's on the giving end. And one of the big realities is that you're hoping in these co-parenting relationships that the person will be mature enough to handle themselves in an adult fashion. That's got to be honest. The likelihood of that happening is very small. But you keep hoping that there'll be moments where, okay, maybe this will be the moment where they wise up. It really happens that way. Anybody wants to add anything? I'll stop right there. I can do a dissertation on this, but I will let you guys add more.
Thank you for that, James. That you see how boundaries seems to transfer over to every aspect
Yeah.
and all arenas of our lives, and it's so important. And here's a big one. It's important that we're focused on the needs of the child or the children.
Yes.
You have to love your children more than you can't stand that person. It's not a matter of winning. It's not. And like James was saying, that narcissistic person is going to try to gaslight you. So instead of getting into a huge argument that's going to affect you emotionally, you know what? Okay, sure. I learned from my wife. I used to think that women who just had like a snap comeback or wasn't taking no mess, or they're just strong. You know what? And Kima touched on it. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. There is strength. There's such strength in an individual not saying anything. We see on social media, I saw a guy getting his children, and she's going on and she's carrying on and she's this and that. And he's just nodding. And he put the kid in the car seat, and he got in the car and drove off. And she was furious because he didn't give that incident legs. You cannot give it legs for it to continue on and on and on. And I'm going to say this, parents, if you're out there and you're listening and you have kids, keep them out of your business. Yes. I was subpoenaed to go to court a month ago. I was furious about having to go, about everything I've done in therapy. And they want you to be on their side. I'm not on anyone's side. We want to do what's in the best interest of the child. And these children, knowing all of these things that one parent was doing and wouldn't sign this paperwork for that and this and that, they have no business knowing that. We want to give them healthy coping skills of learning how to breathe and learn how to do some mindfulness, whether it's tapping, whether it's grounding exercises. We want to give them those things so they can be a healthy adult and stop trying to get the child to be on our side. So that's all I have.
Ooh, all right, Kima.
We all know that the narcissist is a master manipulator. You knew who you were dealing with when you were in a relationship with that person, and your expectation for that person's behavior to be different is futile. So again, like he said, the boundaries are just the common theme. Set your boundaries. And here is where you need the community. Like the gentleman said, sometimes if you can't do the drop off alone, get someone to accompany you, because you often need a witness with the narcissist, because they will lie,
right?
Lie like the finest rug. They lie. So sometimes you have to make sure you have set parameters in place for you to engage, because you have a child. So there's no way that you will never have to interact with that person. There are certain things that are going to occur in that young person's life: school activity, sports activity, graduations, holidays. You know you're going to have to interact with that person for some form of exchange until that child becomes of age whereby they can do those things themselves. I choose to go here, or I choose to go there. Understanding that who that person was and accepting who that person was when you were together is just who that person is. The healing starts with you. The understanding and accepting starts with you. Trying to engage in a healthy, responsible conversation with a person that has narcissism or extreme narcissistic tendency, you didn't get it within the relationship, or else you would still be together. So set your parameters. How are we going to do these exchanges? If you can't communicate verbally, email. You have to do things electronically. CC whomever your mediator is, or whomever. So you need a third party at all times so someone can see how this communication is going. And they can't argue with themselves. If you withdraw your retorts and your responses, let them talk. I'll be there at 6 o'clock. He'll be there at 6 o'clock. Pick them up. And when they don't, because that's where, because I was listening to your story about the young woman going off, perhaps that was reactive abuse. He could have very well been the narcissistic person, quietly putting the child in the car because they want that other person to have an outburst. So, look, I told y'all she's crazy, or I told y'all he's crazy. They love to get some form of reaction, good, bad, or indifferent. They need that. to feel something because they're so hollow and they're so shallow.
Who y'all? This is so full of substance because you guys hit some things. Y'all said don't feed into it, don't entertain it. You said create boundaries. You said bring in the community to be the middleman for you. And you guys also said know that this is who they are. Know that this is who they are, and the processes will be a little bit better. Okay, y'all, this is good. I'm so glad we are recording this on YouTube, guys. So look, family, make sure you go back and look at this because it is on YouTube. We can always replay this, and you can always replay it on Facebook as well. So we're going to jump into parenting and children's mental health, our babies. So our first question is, what are effective ways parents can help a child build confidence and develop a healthy sense of worth? If you guys can just give us some nuggets on that, because that is so needed. Kima, you wanna start that out?
With our babies, even though I don't see children presently because I am virtual as well, children require so much hands-on activity, play, boxes, and games. So, but when I did work with children, so many children would come in and their little countenances would be so low and their self-esteem would be so low. The first thing that I would encourage parents to do is bolster their children's self-esteem with affirmations, telling them who they are and having them to repeat what you have told them. We have biblical guidelines. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. If you say, I don't know what to say, that's one. I am fearfully and I am wonderfully made. We have so many things in this world. Children have so many things in this world to tell them who they are not. It is our responsibility to tell them who they are. Mm-hmm. So affirmations, positive affirmations. You are beautiful. You are smart. You are gifted. I used to tell my daughter, who is she was brilliant. She would be in classes with other people, and no one looked like her. Well, they ain't better than you. They're not better than you. You can do it. You shall achieve. Do not be intimidated by them. So tell your children who you are before the world, who they are before the world tells them who they're not.
That's good. And it starts at home, right? It starts at home. Anybody else? Brother Melvin?
Sure. I mean, I work with kids all day long, not in therapy, but in the counseling arena. But I was seeing kids in the office up until the latter part of July. And a lot of times, this is a question parents have. I'm big on not necessarily homework per se, but maybe giving them resources and doing like a rewards thing where they're giving the kids praise, or for especially people who kids who may have ADHD and things of that nature, and recognizing the neurodivergence of how their brain works and how they process and how they do things. So, okay, here's an example. We struggle as a parent with our child cleaning their room. All right. So the goal is to get their room cleaned every day. So sometimes in session, I've had to teach them, maybe you have to compartmentalize and break it up into 4 sections. And on Monday, you'll do this, and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So if they don't do Monday, but they do Tuesday, they don't do Wednesday, but they do Thursday, instead of harping on what they didn't do, let's praise them for what they did do.
Yeah.
Sometimes that'll build up their self-esteem to next time I'm going to do a little bit more. We as adults, we process and plan and don't always follow through. But you know what? There's an effort. I put forth the effort. I tried it. I'm just going to try again. I said to someone the other day, how was your week? How was your week last week? We're going to try again next week. That's the same thing with our kids. Let's applaud them for what it is that they're accomplishing. And here's the unfortunate part. Sometimes as Kima was speaking, I was thinking about some students that I deal with. They don't want to take the AP class because they don't want to be the only person who looks like them in this room or doing this or doing that. Okay, well, you know what? You don't want to do that? Then we'll do dual enrollment where you could take the class at Wake Tech and get the college credit anyway. And that can go head on when you're ready to go to the next level. And now you're going to have some college credits to go along with you. But and we all know, all of us, our parents aren't here. And this is the hardest job in the world, because today they receive it and it's absolutely wonderful. You try the same thing another day, the stankiest attitude. But you know what? Give them a space to have a conversation about how they feel. We don't come from a place of being heard. A lot of times, if I'm talking to some of my friends, they're like, okay, therapist, what you got to say about this? So, I told him to take the trash out. I want him to take the trash out. He needs to do it right now. And why does he have to do it right now? Is there a pattern because he didn't take the trash out and the trash man and you missed it? Fine. But you're watching your football game. Your wife wants you to do something. You want her to interrupt you?
Ooh, that's good.
Why do they have to be interrupted just because they're little people? And go ahead and tell me, because I said so and I'm the adult. And guess what? That's where we came from.
Yes.
Enslaved, we had to do what we were told to do when we were told to do it. So why is it we have to project that type of mentality on our children? Okay, so what are you supposed to do? You want them to do it. Here's an example. I used to say to my son, hey, what are you watching? I'm watching such and such. Oh, man, can I watch that with you? I'll make some popcorn. While I'm making the popcorn, can you pause it and take the trash out? And I'll make the popcorn and we can sit down and watch it together. You have no idea how effective that has been in my household. But sometimes that doesn't work. I'm watching this. Oh, you want me to watch it with you? No. So it doesn't always work, but we can give that attempt to give them that space. Another thing that's huge, and I struggle with this, y'all, giving children their independence.
Oh, that's good.
You are reaching out to me with a high school senior of why didn't I send your son's transcript to college because you submitted his application. Ma'am, ask your son to come see me in the office, please. Oh, you're not going to send it? I will send it, but listen, you and I are partnering together, and we want him to advocate for himself, because I promise you go ahead and try to call that professor. My son's in the second year at A&T. I guarantee I can't speak to one professor over there as bad as I want to call that calculus one. I can't. But we have to give those advocacy skills early on and teach them and give them that space, because you know what? When you set the bar here, I promise they'll reach it. The problem with some of our children, we're not setting the bar. We're not setting the bar. So what is there for them to aim to? So let's give them that independence for them to grow and to recognize we're going to make mistakes. That is part of growth. Messing up. We've all messed up. We've all fumbled the ball. But that's how we've learned. And we have to give children that same opportunity.
Thank you so much, Melvin. That you and Kima, y'all definitely hit something when, you're talking about how to help your children know their sense of self-worth with words of affirmation. And then Melvin, you also touched on praising them for what they're doing right, not always getting on them about what they're doing wrong. And then you inserted the patience of it all with not getting on them when they're not doing something on time, or just getting easily agitated. Just a transparent moment. My child just slid through here. You didn't even see her. She just slid through here, opened up the door, and in my head, I said, what is my child doing? And while Melvin was talking, I said, I am being tested, huh?
I'm responsible for that. I was sending a message. And here's the message. Y'all, we got 3 minutes left. I don't
That's what
know.
she said. She said 8 minutes left, mommy.
Listen, y'all. Oh my God, man. I don't want to stop. I don't know how we can stop because we're not even done with all the questions. I'm going to, but I think you all have answered most of these questions. What do you think, sweetheart? I think you guys have given to some of these questions.
Um, I think you guys have touched on majority of everything that's up here. You talked about holiday stress. You talked about family um, boundaries. You also touched on children, um, teaching them their self worth and how to parent them well. So I think everything you guys have talked about has been awesome, but we definitely have to do a part two.
Yes, as you see, one of the people from Remnant Nation has commented on YouTube part two. Another one of Remnant Nation people. This was so good. Thank you all so much. So yes, we are going to have to strategize of when we can do this again. And fun fact, you all did not know, but since October, we have been in a series at church called The Ingredients of a Healthy Church.
Yes.
And this is one of the ingredients of a healthy church, having discussions and conversations like this. Because again, we cannot demonize everything. Some stuff just needs to be talked out. And as you alluded to earlier, Ms. Shaw, some things maybe we do need to talk about diagnosis and things of that nature. But when we have great men and women such as you all who have been up here tonight, we are wanting to marry the two. Jesus and therapy will bring about a major deliverance, because deliverance really begins in a person's mind. That's what I believe. That when deliverance is needed, that man or that woman says, you know what? I'm going to set my mind to being set free from this. Y'all, listen. Thank you guys so much again. I'm getting ready to put everyone's information up on the screen. That still might be watching before we log off tonight. We have, again, Miss Kima Shaw. Needs some information, needs some help, please go to her website, yourlegacync.org. She's here in Raleigh. Great friend, sister really of myself and Lady April. And like I confessed earlier, she always checks in and comes to get on me, Pastor, you walking? And see, when she called me pastor, that's when I know she mean business. I be like, doggone it, she ain't call me Ryan. So she always makes sure that I'm moving, and I'm 2 weeks strong in moving. Yes. Next, it is my cousin. His brother was with us the Sunday before last to talk about healthy finances. His brother Jonathan and his wife Shavana. They talked about healthy finances, and tonight the older son, James Perkins, is on here tonight. You guys, men especially, brothers, wives, make sure your husbands get on this, or ladies, you got a boo, got a boyfriend, make sure he taps in with James. Go to jamesperkins.help. You heard him say tonight he is re-strategizing, rebranding his community that will help men in particular. I want to confess that to our men that may be watching, that today I completed my intake form for my therapist, and I believe my first session will be next Monday. All right, brothers, please, we have to do this. Gone are the days where we don't talk. Gone are the days where we don't show emotion. One of the best things that my daddy told me when I was 12 years old, when I saw him crying, He said, Ryan, a real man cries. And because my daddy said so, hey, I do not mind showing emotion, except when I was playing sports. You know, we got hurt. You know, the coach said, suck it up. So that's what I did. But brothers, make sure you tap in. And then we have Mr. Melvin Blackwell on tonight as well. Known him for some years now, over 9 years now. His wife was myself and Lady April's former praise and worship leader. She let us sing on the praise and worship team and in the choir and all that stuff. So brothers, ladies, mamas, anybody, you need some additional help, please go to psychologytoday.com, look up Melvin Blackwell. And if you have students at Knightdale High School, hey, you have an advocate here for your son and or daughter. Make sure they go to the counselor's office and make sure they talk to Mr. Melvin Blackwell. All right? All right.
And briefly, just want to add something. I just posted in the chat. Let me go ahead and bring it up to the top. So this is called Open Path Collective. This is for those that may not have insurance and they're not able to provide, do therapy with self-pay. But this is an opportunity to do a one-time membership fee of $65. And the session ranges from $30 to $70, depending on the therapist you select. A lot of people that are up here are interns. So let's support these interns that are currently in school. They're trying to get their credits in. Kima, correct me if I'm wrong. They're trying to get their credits in or what have you. But you can go to this website as well. It's called openpathcollective.org. We do have one of our very own, Jocelyn Richardson, who is on this site as well. But you can go to that website. You can check her out, look at her profile, or anybody else that is up there. Again, it's a one-time fee of $65. And again, depending on the therapist, the prices range from $30 to $70.
Yes, thank you for that information. I'm going to just, now y'all stay. I'm going to take y'all off stage, but y'all just stay because me and Lady April, we're going to say good night to you all, but y'all don't log off yet. I'm just taking you guys off stage, okay? Don't log off though. Remnant Nation, listen, and friends, I hope you all really, really grab something from tonight for you to take home, to chew on, where y'all at home, for you to chew on.
Yes.
And to go into this next week holiday season with tools to use. Set boundaries when you're going to be with your family. Speak life, affirm your children, give them words of affirmation. Let's all remember that the first 20 minutes of our day is so important. So let's be mindful of what we're listening to before we start our day. Please make sure you do that. Also, of course, yes, tonight is our midweek re-up. This is Bible study. So just real quickly, any one of you want to sow into what you learned and heard tonight, there is the giving ways up on the screen. You could text the word give to 877-890-5237. You can cash app us, $ Remnant Faith Center, or you can go to our website, remnantfaithcenter.org. Okay, this was great. We're going to work on part 2, you all right? Thank you guys so much for streaming in tonight. We want to see everybody Sunday.
Yes.
We are in our winter drive. We are collecting items for our dear brothers and sisters who are part of the, I'm going to say, displaced community. Okay. We are collecting winter items, gloves, scarves, toboggans, hats, and we collectively as a church, we're going to pass those out on December the 6th, okay, downtown Raleigh. So make sure you guys are bringing your items in on this Sunday as well. and you go on our church website. We got an Amazon link. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and log off. Lady Pastor April, you want to say anything before I sign off?
I just want to say thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to put yourself first, and for taking in all of these nuggets that the church community is giving you. And so we are balanced. We infuse Jesus and therapy. So I want to do a clap for you all for taking the time out to listen to this live, and just know that you can always put this on replay. Keep it on replay. Keep it on replay throughout the holidays, throughout the winter season, because we're going into, they call it the winter blues. So keep it on replay. This is going to help you cope the holiday season.
All right. Well, I'm signing off like I always do. Hey, everybody, I love you. Pastor April love you, and Lydia love you. And ain't nothing you can do about it. And remember, nothing can stop you, because you all the way up. You need scripture for that? Not a problem. That means you are the head and not the tail. You are above and not beneath. Y'all see Pastor April doing mine. You are blessed in the city, blessed in the field, blessed in your coming and in your going. And remember, you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you, because you are more than a conqueror through Christ Jesus. We love you, and we will see you at Remnant this Sunday, 12:30 p.m., 706 East Lenore Street. Bye-bye.